What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new mini-series here on the channel. Earlier this year, back in May, Sam and I went on a trip from Colorado through Utah down to Arizona. We were out there for about a week. We called that one the Parking on Ledges Tour, which probably has a better ring to it than this series, but we decided that trip was so much fun. We came back home to Colorado and we decided to do one kind of locally. So this series is going to be known as the High Altitude Camping Series. We got 7 days, 7 trails, 7 camp spots, all at 12,000 feet in elevation, all the way up to 14,000 feet. So if we're under that, I'm not gonna count that as high elevation. Now, what's gonna be interesting about this is when you are taking vehicles like our Tacomas up into the Rocky Mountains and you get up into higher elevation, the trails get gnarlier, the terrain becomes more rugged, the weather becomes super unpredictable. This is going to kind of be a type 2 fun type of trip. I'm kind of like planning for the worst and I'm making it sound like it's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be sick anyway, but in high elevation, it's just harder to do everything. These trails are far less traveled than anything else in Colorado, so the higher you get, the more unpredictable it becomes. There could be trees down. We could still probably hit pockets of snow once we get up above 12,000 feet, so it's kind of like us going into the unknown, but it's going to be sick, and I'm excited for it. Now, before we start all of this, I got to give a huge shout out to the companies who support all of these adventures, starting with Onyx Off-Road. We began planning this as soon as we got back from the Parking on Ledges tour, and I just kind of scouted the area from things that I've seen in person that I've marked on Onyx, just dropping waypoints here and there, and then also I just kind of jumped into the 3D mode to see some of the highest elevation camping that we could possibly get to in this area. I then linked up a bunch of those waypoints and the trails with their route building feature, put everything into a folder of its own, and shared it with Sam and a couple of our other friends that may be joining us later in this week. I think by the end of this trip, I'm gonna kind of polish up all of the data that I've collected in this folder, and I might make it public to you guys out there who support me on Patreon. So if you guys wanna check out these routes and trails and camp spots and everything that I'm collecting on this trip, you can find some detailed stuff once this trip is over on Patreon. So huge thank you to everyone who supports me over there. Next up, we have C4 Fabrication. Both my truck and Sam's truck are fully decked out with armor from C4, and it's some of the best stuff that you could put on a Tacoma nowadays. Not only is it rugged and steel, basically from the bumpers to the rock sliders and the skid plates underneath all the way back to the rear swing out here, but it's giving us high clearance, and I don't think the trail today is going to be too bad, but in the future we're going to be running into some obstacles that are definitely going to require high clearance. So our trucks are completely protected. We don't really have to worry about breaking anything other than maybe some drivetrain components. I should not have said that. Why did I say that? Hopefully nothing breaks. We got recovery gear in here, we got tools, and we got everything that we should need for this trip. So big shout out to C4 as always, and I'm gonna be leaving some discount codes and other things for you guys in the description down below. Third thing, accommodations. Of course, I'm running the Free Spirit Aspen Light. This is my signature tent with them. Tri-layer, big and spacious for just me. It has an AirCore mattress in there, and it's lightweight, so it's not putting a ton of stress on my truck. I wanted to throw a quick thank you to everyone who ordered these tents. If you got in on the pre-order, there's a good chance that you already have this tent on your vehicle, and I love seeing photos and videos over on Instagram and Facebook and all over the internet of you guys out there enjoying these tents. So I really appreciate you guys backing that project. If you didn't get in on this tent initially for the pre-orders, I believe we have more coming in September, so stay tuned for that. I'll post some updates all over my social. And then last but not least, we of course have the Diamondback. A lot of people ask me my honest opinions on this, and I'm honest in all my videos, but I really think that this is the best tonneau cover on the market. I really don't think that I will own another truck without a Diamondback cover because of how versatile it is. Of course, I have the front runner rack on here with the tent mounted up, but because these trails are gonna be rocky and bumpy, the weather is going to be very unpredictable, I don't wanna have an open bed back here, so I have all of my camping gear stowed away in here. I don't have to worry about losing gear on the trail from stuff flying out of the bed. Don't really have to worry about the elements. Everything is going to be relatively dry and clean throughout this trip, and this is a huge part of what makes this truck and this whole build that I've done great for overlanding. I love the covers, and you guys should check them out if you're interested in running something similar. So I believe that's everything that I needed to say to preface this. We've already come to kind of like the beginning of this trail. The first one, again, not gonna be super difficult. We got maybe a couple miles up into higher elevation. Once we cross that 12,000 foot mark, then we can set up camp somewhere. It's going to be interesting. It's gonna be hard to breathe. It's gonna be hard to cook. It's gonna be hard to sleep. And since we're doing this 7 days in a row, all at super high elevation, it's gonna be interesting. If you guys are into this stuff, leave a like, leave some comments down below, share these videos with your friends, and let's get into day one of high altitude camping.
And so it begins.
Maybe about an hour later, and we are at our site. We did a little bit of exploring up here, kind of checking out where all of these trails go, and a lot of them seem to be like OHV, side-by-side, dirt bike, not really full truck type of roads, high clearance 4x4s. We even made it all the way out on this ridge over here, and I opted out of taking a line because it looked very dangerous. And it's day one, so we don't want to be dying or breaking things already. We're starting this off super easy, not only the trail, but the elevation. We're only at 12,080 feet, but it's technically high altitude by our definition. It's definitely going to get higher and higher as the days go on, but figured we'll start easy, a little over 12,000, and now it's time to set up camp.
Nice.
So I'm all set up. Sam needs to set his truck up and get everything going, and Sam's gonna be in charge of dinner tonight. I'm gonna kind of explain why here in a little bit. We, as expected, have storms kind of all surrounding us. We got some good views here, nothing like crazy spectacular, but we got storms rolling over these peaks over here. We got some behind us. We got like one little open nice area over here. Lots of colors going on at this camp spot right now. The fire's going, and speaking of that stuff, I'm gonna give you guys a quick rundown of the gear that I've brought for this trip because it's relatively the same, and I know a lot of you guys are into the gear that I like to use. Maybe it gives you some ideas for your setup, so Here comes the rain. See if we can do this before getting completely soaked. So we've only been here for like an hour or two, but the truck is already a mess. Riding up front, shotgun here, I've got, of course, my camera gear in a Pelican Air case. I leave this thing kind of open all the time while I'm driving, constantly switching lenses and filters, throwing up the drone. I got everything that I need to make all the videos that you guys see here weekly in here. So this is a full kit. Everything that I use is right here. I've got the big Anchor battery as well as a smaller Jackery battery over here just to charge up camera gear. I'll use the Jackery around the campsite at some point. And then strapped to my headrest, I don't know if I've ever showed you guys this, but the Last Bag Company, Last US Bag Co. that makes the Oscar Hideout bag, my trash can on the back. I have a little like inside trash can here, which is nice. You can put all sorts of stuff in here, but I'm using that for trash that I have in the truck while we're traveling. Back here, I've got my Dometic fridge set up. That thing is plugged into a 12 volt and charging as I drive. And of course, we stopped at the grocery store, so this is pretty stocked for a couple days between my fridge and Sam's fridge. We got everything we need. Got some plates, got dry goods and clothing in my Vertex duffel bag on the other side. That's pretty much it for the inside of the truck. Now, of course, you guys see this setup all the time. I have my front runner chairs, which are now freaking wet. Got my Fire Anytime lava box and a little like 15-pound propane tank. All of that stuff lives in my Roam boxes, which live in the back of my truck. This right here is actually a new version of the Roam box that I was previously carrying, but it's a little bit smaller than the previous big box that I had. However, they underwent some changes. So they have a new hinge design here, which looks really nice, functions really well. And they've also kind of widened the mouth of these so you can fit bigger items in here a lot easier. Previously, these lips would come out, I don't know, maybe like another inch or so. This is a little bit more open, and it has wheels, which is nice. So I can wheel this thing around. It's got the handles that are removable, bottle opener, and then I keep perfect bungees on them. That way I can slide them out of my 6-foot bed. So all of that camp stuff lives in this box. And then my regular 105 liter here, this is the older version, so you can kind of see the differences. You can see how wide this lip is compared to this lip right here. So I definitely like this new design, but I still love this one. So it opens up to the side. I've got all my typical stuff in here: lights and chargers, cleaning supplies, cooking supplies. Those two boxes live in the back of my bed, and then we have these towards the front. This is my Vertex VTAC stackable bag. This houses all of my cooking stuff. So I have my butane stove in here. I have a Step 22 Chameleon, which you guys see all the time. This is only for cooking because I use this more than anything when I'm camping. So I want to have quick and easy access to that. Got a couple gallons of water, mainly for drinking. Also have the rinse kit filled up. I just did a video on this kind of recently, so you guys may have seen that. And then I have a smaller Vertex stackable here, which houses all of my recovery gear, little tree saw, jumper cables. I've got a kinetic rope in here, soft shackles, hard shackles, like everything for winching. That thing is completely packed out, and that also lives in the truck full time. And I got my slides, because why not? Now you might be thinking that I'm traveling pretty light, doing what we're doing for the next 7 days, but Sam and I were strategic with this. We actually kind of packed both of our trucks together. That way we didn't bring extra gear, no redundancies of really anything. I guess we do have 2 cooktops, but you got the propane, which is going to be important because butane doesn't work when it's cold and you're in high elevation. Got the fire pit. Didn't bring a solo stove because we didn't want to deal with carrying wood every day. We're pretty dialed.
Pretty dialed.
Guess it's time to cook dinner now. That's you.
That's me.
Your dinner tonight, I'll cook dinner tomorrow. We can rotate. We've made it to 9 o'clock now. Dinner is served. We got some kind of a pre-cooked pasta. Sam was smart and actually cooked some pasta before we came up here because making a full meal like this is annoying. We got some spinach, mushrooms, tomatoes, spicy Italian sausage.
And onion.
And onion. I think we're starting out strong here with the camp meals this week. Yeah. Can't complain with that. So I probably should have told you guys this earlier, but we are already kind of off of our normal route for this trip. This is not the first planned campsite that we had. On our way up earlier, I realized that the first two campsites that I had planned out with Route Builder were very close to each other, and we tried going to the first campsite. However, it passed through private land, and that happens pretty often when you're in national forest. However, this one didn't really have any signage on the trail, and there was a gate. It looked like there was like a little cabin or something just past the gate, so we decided to just call an audible and come to what is now the second spot, which means I've been on Onyx kind of off and on throughout the night now looking at alternative routes. So whenever you're planning a trip like this, you kind of have to like roll with the punches. So I mean, it happens often that trails are closed or something's impassable, or maybe it's just not the spot that you want it to be at. So you kind of have to like adapt and move on with the whole plan. So like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm saving these waypoints. I'm going to create a new route. That way it's kind of like all polished, and I'm going to be sharing that over on Patreon. So we have another spot picked out now. Tentative spot. Everything is tentative at this point. Like we don't really know what the hell's going on. But we have a tentative spot that may be the highest that we have ever camped ever. Very high altitude. So
Ever.
it is going to be cool.
Yep.
The plan for tomorrow is actually going to be fairly high as well. We're going to be breaking the 13,000 foot mark. I'm not exactly sure how high. Hopefully it's open, but we're going to be creeping up there on a 14er, which is rad. It's about that time. It is super eerily quiet up here. Take a listen. No wildlife making noises, no rustling of leaves, no wind, which is very strange, and we got a super bright full moon over here. Have not seen any other vehicles coming up this trail, this mountain pass in a while now, so I think it's just us up here tonight. Alright, now my sleeping setup has changed just a little bit. We are in summer, technically, even though it's pretty cold. I have not checked the weather at all for this trip because it's just so unpredictable when you're in high altitude. I believe last I looked it was maybe around like low 50s, and tonight there's a good chance that it's going to get into the 40s, maybe high 30s, but hopefully not that low. You guys typically see me sleeping with a 0 degree bag all the time. However, I wanted to be a little bit more comfortable on this trip, so I have switched back to my hover quilt, which is amazing. It's kind of like a sleeping bag, but without being mummified, so it allows you to move around a little bit. And then I just have a fuzzy blanket underneath me, kind of acting as a sheet, and then the AirCore mattress. I basically packed winter clothing for this trip. I got a bunch of sweatpants and a ton of hoodies and jackets and stuff, which so far have come in handy because rain jacket obviously needed. It was cold as soon as we got up into this area, so threw a hoodie on right away. I might just sleep with my hoodie on for a little while because it's comfortable. Now tomorrow we're gonna wake up and do this all over again. We're gonna scope out a spot that Ashley and I tried going to in our 4Runner when we ran into snow. Some of you guys may have caught that video. I believe by now the trail has opened up. However, there are no trail reports on it on Onyx right now. So if we get reception at any point tomorrow, I'm going to check that out on our way to that next trail. And hopefully we can make it to the top. We're going definitely like 1,000 feet above where we're at right now. So it's going to get a little more interesting as the week goes on. That's all for day 1 of high altitude camping. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this series. I know I'm going to enjoy filming it and capturing everything for you guys. I'd appreciate it if you left some likes, comments down below. Again, share it with your friends, all that stuff. Doesn't sound like much, but it is super appreciated. That's all for today. As always, thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.